Do it right now.
Yeah, right now? Okay.
24th
Alrighty,
was
welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday evening. We are live. Today we are going to be discussing the Bears' loss in the last second of the game, and we're going to be previewing the Eagles' playoff matchup. Now, we're doing things a little bit differently this week. We're going to kind of abbreviate the recap section because it's not as important and there's not as many concrete takeaways from that game with the amount of backups that ended up in the game, some of the injury stuff, and then just the fact that with the Commanders winning the game really essentially became meaningless at that point anyways. So we're going to kind of abbreviate the recap, and then in place of that, we're going to go through the preview in the same order that we normally do our recap. So we're going to get really, really in-depth on the preview and kind of abbreviate the recap a little bit this week. So I'm going to hit the intro, and then here we go.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so we're going to start with the offensive side of the ball. So I'll go to Bryant first. Bryant, what stood out to you from the Packers on offense?
Yeah, just obviously with Jordan Love going out, even when he was in, it was just there was no rhythm. They seemed out of sync, and then you have the bad fumble by Jaden Reed, too many drops, a couple bad throws. I thought Jordan was holding on to the ball a little bit again. And then offensive line held up all right, but they were letting some pressures through. To me, it just seemed like they were like out of sync, and maybe I don't want to say they didn't care about the game, but it seemed like they couldn't get up for this game, and they started slow again, and they had an early mistake, and it's just with this team, one of the things I've noticed over the last couple of years, and it probably has to do with them being a young team, but something Matt LaFleur can probably hopefully work on is it seems like when something goes wrong, you guys just heard me say this, it seems like they struggled to respond to some adverse things that happen to them. Their ability to bounce back and resiliency hasn't been as strong. So I feel like you can kind of sense it in the game once it starts slow like that. It's like, this is going to be a long, stupid game. And I think I said that to you guys pretty early on. Like, I was like, this is going to be just dumb all day long. I feel like it. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, it just really couldn't get nothing going. But you also got to take the fact that Josh Jacobs, after he scored that great touchdown, he didn't carry the ball again, right? He was out of the game. So even if he's in the game, I think we probably seal it with Malik because he was kind of killing the Bears. He looked really good. So, they just couldn't get in sync. You had the injuries happen, unfortunately, and everything else. So can't take away too much, I don't think. But we do need to hold on to the damn ball. So, and that goes for both defense and offense. When you intercept the ball on defense, hold on to the damn ball. Jaden Reed, hold on to the damn ball.
Yeah. Simon, what did you take away from the Packers offensively, if anything?
I thought the same kind of. It just seemed like a really slow start, which has kind of been more or less a theme against, teams that, we're going into. I don't know. It just seems like a theme this year. We have like these the first drive of the game. Like I don't even know how many times. It doesn't seem like we score very often. And it kind of just led to a Bears early start with the two mistakes where we shot ourselves in the foot. And then, but other than that, the run game looked good, even without Josh Jacobs. I think he only carried the ball, 6-7 times. And then the rest was Wilson and Brooks. I thought the offensive line played pretty well, in my opinion, minus the sack on Willis. I don't know what happened with that protection or whatever. It seemed like Tucker Kraft kind of chipped the guy, and there was nobody there to, recover. So that guy just got a free shot, and Willis leading to a fumble, which was easy enough. But yeah, I thought, I don't know, receivers kind of whatever to me. It didn't seem like there was much going on in the receiving game either.
Yeah. The other thing with Willis, you got to keep your head on a swivel when you're in the pocket.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're expecting to have protection there or not. You can't just be ignoring half the field. Jake, what did you take away from the Packers offensively?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start at the Malik Willis since that's fresh in my mind right now. I believe, in my opinion, that looked like it was probably a hot read. He was probably supposed to just check that ball down to Tucker Kraft. Honestly, if you're calling that play and you understand where everybody's supposed to be, that's why the quarterbacks are paid the money. They're supposed to know where everybody is at every single moment of the game, right? That's something when we talk about people like Brett Favre, people don't appreciate enough about Brett Favre is he always knew where Amon Green was. If a play broke down, he knew where Amon Green was. He would just check it off. Same thing with the William Hendersons of the world. He would just check it off. He would get beat up a lot, but he always knew where the check down was, right? In terms of starting slow, something that I talked about last week with my X Factor is starting fast. Definitely been a problem. Bryant was harping on it for how many weeks in a row? I don't know. It seems like the whole season, really. Bryant was kind of on that. But now it's official since the regular season is done. They scored on 7 of 18 opening drives. Only 7 of 18. 5 of those.
Time for them not to take the ball first. I know I was pissed off about it when they didn't do it against Detroit, but that's because they changed up what they've been doing. So maybe they don't change up what they've been doing, or maybe they do. I don't know.
I mean, 6-1 in games when they do go down and score on their first possession. So I mean, that's a great record. But you got to go down there and you got to score fast. We're going to get into the Eagles game in a little bit here. We're going to talk about injuries. There's going to be a guy that may be coming off injury that's really important to the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, and he might be rusty because he hasn't played in a little bit. This week might be the most important week to start fast, not just because it's playoffs, but because he might be knocking off some rust for the first couple series. So just saying, it's going to be really important to start fast. We're going to have to come out there and punch him in the mouth. If we don't, it's going to be a long game. In terms of things that I also heard from Bryant and Simon, in my opinion, Sunday felt like a glorified preseason game for a lot of teams. I have the NFL Sunday ticket. I was switching through some games when the Packers game went on commercial. I would put it in the 4 quad. And I mean, just look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs literally didn't give a damn. They lost 38-0. I mean, it was an extra preseason week is really what it was. The NFL is going to have to do something about it, make it a little bit more competitive for those last couple of weeks because that's not fair to some teams, in my opinion, that are fighting for playoff positioning. But it's a conversation for a different day. In terms of Packers offense, the run game still looked strong. I felt like when Jacobs was in there, I felt like Emmanuel Wilson still showed good vision and good power. In terms of receiving, I felt like Malik Heath was probably the bright spot just for a couple big-time plays that he got. Now with Watson out, we had no Dobbs. We got to send somebody deep. Somebody's got to be the deep threat. And
we'll talk about
hearing people say Bo Melton because he's fast.
We'll talk about it. Save it for the preview.
I got a lot of thoughts on it.
Save it for the preview.
In terms of tight ends, I think they could still use Tucker Kraft more. I think it's time. Musgrave's been back for a few weeks. Maybe time to take the training wheels off. I got a lot of thoughts on how this offense is run and the things that they could do better. I would say on 4th down, you don't pitch it backwards, though. That's just my opinion.
We'll talk about that, too. In the coaching.
Sorry, I have a lot of thoughts.
We're going to get to it in just a second. On your point on Tucker Kraft, he did lead the team with 7 targets.
They got to throw it down the field to him.
Okay, that specification, I'll allow it. For me, offensively, I didn't take a ton away as far as red zone is concerned or the passing game distribution, strictly because we're talking about a lot of backup skill position players being in there. So I'm not going to take a ton away from Chicago game that is going to be applicable to the Eagles game. That's why we're doing the recap as an abbreviation so we can expand on the preview because that's the more important thing to talk about. Scott said the play calling has went kind of vanilla in the past 3 weekends. That's very possible. They're kind of just bare bonesing it for the last couple of weeks until they get to, where they're ready to expand everything and put it all on the line for the playoffs. It's possible. The main thing that I wanted to talk about with the offense is I saw a dumb post about it, and then I saw a bunch of people agreeing with it, saying that Jordan Love is inaccurate for throwing at people's feet. Now, there's a reason he does that. First of all, is to avoid intentional grounding by not throwing the ball away to nowhere. Secondly, he throws it at people's feet so that they don't get murdered by linebackers. There's no benefit to Jordan Love throwing a 1-yard screen pass to somebody with a linebacker 2 steps away from them. That's how you get your running backs and tight ends hurt.
That throw to Josh Jacobs though, that will like check down. I was just kidding. The one where he got, I think it was the one where he got hurt actually, but that shit was sick. That should have never happened. I think he was trying to toss it short too.
They took that one back. Huh? I feel like they took that one back because we took the 5-yard penalty, right?
No, that one. No, that one went. I think. I'm pretty sure.
But that's why he's doing it. If you see that, and then you see after the guy looks up that he's getting, kind of like bumped by a linebacker, that's Jordan Love throwing that ball incomplete on purpose so that their skill position players aren't getting murdered by linebackers.
Oh wait,
Brian, hospital ball.
Oh wait, no, hold on, I'm retarded.
Yeah.
Wrong game.
Yeah. So and avoiding and avoiding intentional grounding. He's not unintentionally throwing the ball at people's feet. He's not purpose, like that inaccurate that he can't throw a 2-yard pass on purpose. It's ridiculous that people think that that's even a possibility, that Jordan Love is just actually that bad at football that he throws the ball at people's feet when he's trying to throw it to their hands.
Yeah. From
4 feet away. All right. Bryant, special teams.
Yes. Hopefully this, towards the end of the year, they just go full potato. So maybe that was this game and they got it out of their system, because what the hell, other than Brandon McManus, like, good job drilling that kick. We'll talk about the stupidity of that kick when we go to coaching, I hope. If not, we're talking about it, whether Tyler likes it or not. But that punt is just whatever. They pulled a trick play on us, but you got to be better than that. There was egregious holding against us on it, but whatever, you got to be better than that. You can't let that go. And then just overall, bad snap, high snap. Good job by our punter to get that off. So just
I forget
overall,
Whelan's that tall too.
Yeah. Overall,
but Matt Orzech's been kind of shaky the last couple of games.
Yeah,
it seems like.
Overall, it just was not our strongest showing. I feel like there's something I'm missing, but I wasn't going to go back and look at that horrendous game again. So I'm going to be fully transparent. But the punt return for a touchdown, and then the high snap and things like that, and a couple, decent returns by them, was just not great.
So
we did have a holding that put us way back the first drive.
Like if we were worried about the field goal trick, or the fake punt play, or the fake punt receiving play, and I'm like, that's never going to happen again, because I guarantee you they all got screamed at that it happened in the first place. That you're not running down the field and locating the ball. That you're basing your punt coverage on where the where the returner is going. It's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
None of the players that were on the field for that are ever going to forget it. Guaranteed. So that's that.
Hopefully.
Going into the coaching aspects of it, I'm going to start with Jeff Hafley because I only have one thing to bring up with him.
Yep.
And it's the final drive, the 3rd and 11. I understand playing prevent, and I absolutely understand giving up the middle of the field because the Bears had no timeouts. But where those 3 deep safeties are, they should have been at the sticks, not 5 yards behind the sticks. Because anything past the first down mark, then Chicago can run up and spike the ball. If you get them inside that 11 yards, doesn't matter if it's by this much, they can't spike the ball because it's 4th down. So you absolutely give up the middle of the field. That's absolutely the right call because the clock moves. But it has to be inside those sticks. You can't let them convert the first down there because it does leave the window open, even just this much, 2 seconds literally, to be able to spike the ball.
Yeah, I don't understand how you don't have the thing that pisses me off most about the whole situation is they called the timeout to go into that play. Like, how are you not saying, okay, safeties, stand right at the first down marker. If they want to try to run past you, great, whatever.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is deep. Wasn't throwing deep all day. He didn't throw any deep passes all day. And all season, he's shown to be shit when throwing anything down the field.
Even if you
he
want to do
literally
that,
overthrows his people by like 10, 15 yards on a regular basis.
even if you want to dare him to do that, put 2 guys at the sticks and put your third safety on the goal line.
It was just awful. Like, and like I had, flashbacks, PTSD of Joe Barry. Like, what are we doing here? I'm
not going to go that far.
Just with that play,
one play, but
yeah, I'm not saying
put that name.
I'm not saying as a whole at all.
The whole defense
I wasn't saying as a whole at all.
I know, but I'm not saying you are. But people are going to because you brought it up one time.
But I just don't understand. I seen the lineup and I said they're gonna get 15 yards here and they're gonna be able to kick a field goal. Like I could see that they're gonna get that play. Like I knew exactly what was gonna happen. I was like, what the hell are we doing?
Especially because the corners were playing outside leverage to prevent them from going out of bounds.
If you're going to play outside leverage and make them force them run in the middle of the field, you absolutely have to have the safeties up. And on top of that, you have we were getting home with 4 people and we only rushed 3. It was just a terrible decision all around.
Can I chime in? Can I tell you guys something that made me want to throw up?
Sure.
First of all, I agree with you to put the safeties at the sticks. I might have adjusted it just a little. I would have put the linebackers at the sticks and maybe put the safeties at the 15-yard mark and let them attack forward if something comes up in front of them. Then they could still read and react. That's just what I would have done personally. But
somebody at the
third and longs, they were 0 for 6. They were 0 for 6 until that one. They needed 11 yards on that play. They got 18. Even if you just hold them to 12, that field goal goes from 51 to 57.
But
in the cold,
let's say that's 6 fewer yards they have to run to set. Maybe they get that spike off of 6 seconds and they have a chance to run another play to the sideline.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't
think they get it off.
If they got the first down, they were kicking the field goal.
Yeah,
100%. If they get 12 yards, they're kicking that.
It literally made me. They wanted to lose.
It was a dumb decision in my opinion, but whatever.
Half of Korea said you're the only guy without a hat. I don't trust what you're saying.
Like it.
That might be my favorite comment of the year. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Dog, it's January 7th.
Dude, half of Korea said that. That's wild.
Said it.
There, I'll put my head. Is that better? Put my headrest on my head.
Fucking Napoleon Bonaparte over here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Justin brought up something else that I was going to bring up in the coaching, that Malik Willis and Jordan Love got in the game at the same time.
Yeah, and they lost. Did you like that?
That was not the reason, though. I don't know. Like, it was
that, Justin.
It's not like that play was extraordinary or anything. Anyways, it was just as
it was
just a read.
It was fun to look at pre-snap.
It was fun for a sec. Yeah, I actually did enjoy that play. I was like, "Ooh, interesting."
Yeah, like just mixing it up. So that was fun. Matt LaFleur won a challenge on a play that he shouldn't have had to challenge. Like, I don't know.
That was ridiculous. I couldn't believe that.
And be like, "Oh, that was incomplete." Like, up until that point, I was like, I love the expedited reviews, and then that happens, and it's like, what? It worked every single time until that time. Like,
yeah, massively confused by
that. Next coaching decision. I'm fine with running sweeps. Justin brought up the end arounds. They serve their purpose. We've talked about it in a lot of play breakdowns, how having guys moving around in the backfield, the handoffs to Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, to Bull Melton, they serve the purpose of getting the defense moving east to west, not north and south. However, 4th and 3 is probably the worst possible time that you could come up with to be going east and west. 3rd and 3, fine, try it. 4th and 3, you need to be going north and south.
I don't understand this recent thing of let's get Jaden Reed the ball all the time at the line of scrimmage. Dude, he can make plays downfield, throw the ball a little bit downfield and let him run. How many deep passes has he caught this year? Like really nice, really good ones.
A couple.
Hold on, I can look that up.
Several, yeah. Like
definitely all the ones that I can think of were in the first half of the season.
Yeah, well, that's because they've started doing weird stuff with him. I don't know what they're doing.
I understand the role that he's occupying, but again, like as far as the coaching goes and the timing, on 4th and 3, we need to be going north and south.
I'm gonna say something, and you guys are all gonna agree with me, and I know it. The Jaden Reed
I disagree.
end of rounds on 3rd and 4th down has replaced the John Kuhn dive play on 3rd and 4th down.
Oh my god!
It has replaced it. It is equally as infuriating and equally as bad.
It's almost as bad as the McCarthy special running a pitch play on 3rd and 4.
I was about to say the outside pitch.
I hated seeing the toss play on 3rd down. That shit pissed me off to no end.
Yeah.
Jane Reed has 12 receptions on 15 targets on passes that are over 20 yards.
Oh, so he's good down the field, so we're not going to throw it to him?
And that's 478 of his yards.
Damn. Well, I mean, 70-yard touchdown, 58-yard play to the 3-yard line. That's 120 yards on 2 of them right there. Steve said, why not Malik Willis more active in the running game? Because if Jordan Love gets hurt and Malik Willis is playing, don't bring up Ty Montgomery either, and Malik Willis is playing a lot, like you're kind of screwed there. Like, yes, Sean Clifford is here, but not sure I want him entering a game. Justin said, how many yards does Jacob average per play? Why are we not running him on 3rd and 4th down? Just in this game specifically, Josh Jacobs played like the first 2 series and then not at all the rest of the game.
That was definitely a coaching decision.
That was definitely by design.
I didn't want Jacobs playing the whole game anyways.
You're right. Yep.
I didn't want him playing at all, bro. I
didn't want
everybody.
Play.
The last thing with the coaching is the time management on the final drive of the offense. And the biggest problem is calling a timeout after 7 seconds that run off the clock on 3rd down, on 3rd and 2. Minute 5 left on the clock. Timeout gets called at 58 seconds. I brought this up to Jake. I understood not letting a bunch of time run off on the first couple because they were still very at the edge of field goal range. So I understand being a little bit quicker on the first and the second down plays. But once you get to 3rd and 2 and you're kicking a field goal after that, even with the 2-yard loss, let the clock run.
Yeah. I don't understand this. If we were going to try to get more yards, we still had all 3 timeouts anyway. We could have controlled the clock. It was just like, it was horrible. And the thing that worries me is this isn't the first time that at least I've been like, what the hell are we doing with time management right here? There's been different games that, like 60 seconds roll off other times. But in this, the Bears should have never touched the ball again. If anything, we should have lost on a missed field goal.
I don't agree with that. Because where they were when they first got the ball was the Chicago 43-yard line. I'm not putting McManus out there for a 60-yard field goal.
But they knew he was I agree with that, but doesn't mean you have to run hurry up. You're not in a hurry there. You have 3 timeouts in a minute and 15 seconds. Why are you in a hurry?
I'm going to say one thing. Every fan of every team thinks their coach is bad at time management. Because at certain times during the year, every coach is bad. Look at Eagles fans and ask them how they feel about Sirianni. That guy's done nothing but win since he's got there, and half of the fan base hates him.
Okay, Brian, you ready? Let's say they got the ball at the 43-yard line. You just agreed that we're not putting McManus out there for a 60-yard field goal. If they get into a situation where they're still 60 yards away, they're going to punt the football. And then you need those timeouts to get the ball back.
You hope to get the ball back with 10 seconds? That's better than getting the game-winning field goal, what should have been the game-winning field goal, and giving the Bears a chance to go down and score.
If you get 3 stops with 3 timeouts, you're going to have more than 10 seconds on the clock.
Not much. It's going to not be much. You're running 6-7 second plays.
They had the ball. The 3rd down play was running at a minute 5. But again, if they run the hurry up, like we're saying, like there's an opportunity there that if they don't gain yards, that they could have had to punt there because they were in that no man land. I'm not saying he made decisions, but I'm playing the devil's advocate on what could have happened.
But Tyler, the first down play got us into field goal range. We lost yards and then gained nothing.
They only ran 3 plays.
I know, but what I'm saying is, then why are you still hurrying up if the first play gains you 6 yards and you're in field goal range now? Where you feel comfortable.
At it's a 54-yarder.
It was like a 53-yarder, and then we lost 2 yards on a carry, and then we gained 0 yards on a carry. So right there, you're a 53-yard field goal range. So why are you in hurry up now?
The only problem I have with how that went was calling the timeout after 7 seconds ran off on third down.
Yeah. And when they called that, I'm like, okay, then now they must be going for it.
Because it was fourth down, like you're kicking the field goal at that point. Then you should be running that down to, it would have been like 37.
That tells me that Matt LaFleur did not know what he was going to do at that moment, and he panicked and called a timeout. And then Rich Bisaccia is like, nope, he's good. He can kick from here, which starting at that drive or actually at the beginning of the game, Matt LaFleur needs to know what Brandon McManus's range is.
Sure.
So after the first down play, they're in field goal range with a 53-yard field goal. He ended up hitting our 54-yarder. He ended up hitting a 56 or 57 because they lost yards. To me, that's like you're done at that point. The Bears should never touch the ball.
The other thing with that, and you brought up the timeouts too, is even if you let the clock run down while you're making that decision, you would still have 37 to 40 seconds and 2 more timeouts yet.
Yeah, or you force the Bears to use their one.
Yeah, so I mean, you could have still let that clock run down and then taken the timeout and make your decision if you're going to kick it or go for it, and still have time to get another. If you're going to go for it on fourth down, like say you're not comfortable with McManus kicking past 53 and you're not wanting to kick a 55 and you need to go for it on fourth down, you can still make that decision, have 2 timeouts after that fourth down play.
Yeah, to me in that situation, he panicked and he made the worst decision. And that's where I'm at with that. And it's unfortunate. He needs to be, we kind of talked about, so I think one thing, hopefully he'll do it, is, or have other coaches maybe do a peer review for him and be like, this is maybe what you want to look at, or do something in the offseason to get better in these situations.
Let me say this as we transition to defense here. How do you guys feel about essentially giving more rein and more leash to Halfley and Matt LaFleur? Like we saw last year at the end of the season, he had to take more ownership of the defense because of Joe Barry. He's got a new first-year defensive coordinator. Maybe he's still got a little bit more of that control on defense. So he's thinking while the Packers are on defense about what they're doing on defense, he can spend that time, give that leash to Halfley, let Halfley control the defense, and Matt LaFleur can be thinking about the next offensive drive. I understand as the head coach, you still have to be paying attention, but focusing on your next drive, thinking about what's going to happen in these scenarios while your defense is on the field.
I'd feel better about it if we didn't just see that last defensive play.
One play.
But remove that, I think Halfley's earned the trust, and they've had a very good defense for most of the year. Unfortunately, just has not played well against these top teams. So you could say they're, maybe they're taking the benefit of the weaker teams, but hopefully they did hold Detroit 21 or whatever the one game, so that was good. And they have dealt with some 24, dealt with some injuries and stuff. But for me, it's just the thing that kills me is they called the timeout there to call the timeout and just roll that out. Like those two need to get to better and have a better plan right there. Like stop being. I feel like at that point, instead of playing to beat them and playing like we're better than you and we're going to stop you right here and beat you, we were basically hoping that they made a mistake and weren't able to clock it or something. We were hoping they beat them. Instead of us beating them there, we were hoping they beat themselves.
And they have done that a lot this year, to be fair.
Yeah, they should have done it with the fumble. They should have lost right there.
Yeah, they should have. I agree.
It was hilarious that the freaking announcer said, well, the Bears find a way to beat themselves. The next play, the guy fumbles.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Bryant, what did you take away from the defense as a whole?
Really, really good job until the last play. To be honest. They had the one touchdown drive where they scored a touchdown.
On a short
that
field.
One after the fumble, right?
That was after the fumble.
Yeah, it was right after Jaden Reed fumbled.
28-yard
line. Other than that, the defense really didn't give up nothing. They played really well, I thought. They played just fine until that one play, and I can't even blame it on the defense. Carrington Valentine literally came out and said, I did what I was asked to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And whether you like all your coaches or not, I don't care. I'm glad he said it. Because he shouldn't take the damn Flames for being put into that position.
No.
So overall, I was fine with it. I was happy with the defense. They gave up a touchdown on a short field, and they gave up a field goal that should have never happened.
Yeah. And we talked about this too, like tackling them in the middle of the field to make the clock run. That's the right thing, but make them do it inside that 11 yards.
Yeah.
Simon, how did you feel about the defense?
Yeah, basically everything that Bryant just said as well, but highlighting a few guys. I thought Edge Cooper looked good again. He is second in the league with tackles for loss, and he only played 490 total snaps this year, which is just crazy as a rookie too.
Yeah.
I mean, he has some stuff to clean up for sure. But as a first-year guy, like I don't think you can ask for a better pick in the middle of the field than what Brian Gutekunst got with Edge Cooper. TJ Slayton, I thought this might have been one of his better games of the year in the middle of the field. Carrington Valentine with the timely forced fumble was good. I thought LVN had some good reps as well, especially in the run game. I thought that draw play to Swift where he kind of recovered, and I mean, they gained like 3 or 4 yards, but if he didn't make that tackle, like they were probably gaining like 10 or more. Rashawn Gary had a few pressures in the sack, so good for him. The run defense as a whole, the Bears had 26 attempts for 83 yards, and that's what you need to see. And they also forced a couple fumbles as well. Coverage wise is pretty much exactly what Brian said. They weren't throwing anything downfield. Everything, I think he had one completion of over 15 air yards or some shit. Like, I mean, he's just going to check it down all day. I thought they did a pretty good job covering the screens, had a couple TFLs on those too. And then I don't know what Keenan Allen was looking at, but thank you for throwing another pick to Xavier McKinney. I don't know what he was looking at. I was like, dude, just throw the ball away next time.
I couldn't believe he was dropping back to throw it. I thought he was going to throw it out of bounds.
I thought he was too. I was like, dude, there's nothing down there. Like,
there was 3 Packers down there.
Yeah.
Justin asked the question, I don't understand why we didn't put more pressure on Williams. He's known to panic, go get him, just like the Lions did to Darnold. 2 things. First, the first matchup, he had 70 rushing yards.
Yeah.
So there's that. Second, he's been known to hold the ball too long. So if you drop more guys back into pressure and make him hold on to the ball, I feel you can get home with 4 guys. And they did that at sometimes. They finished with 16 total pressures. I don't even know how many dropbacks Caleb Williams had. I don't think it was many, though.
20-something. There wasn't that many.
29. 16 pressures on 29 dropbacks with an average time to throw of 3 seconds. So, like Simon said, a lot of check down stuff. His average, target was 2.1 yards.
I meant to mention that. I forgot.
2.1 yards. Average depth of target.
Do you guys have you heard anything about Stokes? Why he only played 5 snaps that game? He's been playing well. That kind of threw me off. I didn't see an injury or anything on him.
Bubble wrap?
Yeah, maybe he was just
trying not to get him hurt.
Maybe. Could be, because he's going to be pretty much our number 1 this week.
Yeah.
He played 25 snaps.
There are only 3 healthy corners.
Goddamn, I'm looking at the wrong game. Again.
Steve asked any guesses on what the new role for Edgerrin Cooper might be. It's going to be starting middle linebacker next year.
Yeah.
Steve said Packers always find a way to lose in nonsensical ways. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't think that there's been a lot of nonsense in their losses.
But you could say they find ways to win in the same way, or whatever you want to say too. They blocked the kick earlier in the season against the same team.
I think. I mean, I kind of agree with Steve in a way. It's just not like that was the first like end of the game nonsensical way to lose. Like it's a lot of the stuff that happens that's like quote unquote nonsense is like in the first quarter where we just like shoot ourselves in the foot 27 times and we have to claw our way back.
Yeah,
at least that's my take on it.
Well, I mean, that's part of that is allowing a special teams touchdown, but like one game. We're talking about one game, and we had the conversation about how many of the skill position players ended up being benched in this game.
Yeah, like for Edge Cooper, I'm guessing his role is going to
have pressed to win that game harder. I think they could have.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Edge Cooper against the Eagles because he didn't really play against them week 1, and he could definitely spy, and he's going to be fast, and he's going to be a key player with Saquon and Jalen Hurts. I'll tell you that much. It's crazy that he leads our team in tackles for losses too already.
Well, I mean, Simon just brought it up. He leads almost everybody in tackles for loss. Let's start with it. Simon, in the preview for the Packers and Eagles, Sunday, 3:30, what are you looking for from the defensive scheme?
I didn't see anything about Eric Stokes real quick. I have no idea what happened. Why? Maybe they just took him out for precautionary reasons. I have no idea.
That's what I think.
That's an odd one, but maybe it's just due to his past injury concerns. Scheme wise, I mean, it's going to be a lot of zone, especially with Jalen Hurts being able to hurt people on the ground game. Hurt people, jeez. In the ground game, so you just want your defense facing him at all times. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think they'll probably try to shade some coverage towards AJ Brown because he kind of torched him a little bit in the first game. So I'm kind of looking for that and staying away from Xavier McKinney. Whatever the Packers did in the run game in week 1, like Barkley's going to get his. It's going to happen. The Eagles' O-line is too good and Barkley's too good. But the Packers actually did like a halfway decent job of containing him for the most part, as you can contain Saquon this year. They hit him on 58% of the designed runs behind the line of scrimmage. And that's what you love to see. And maybe with Edge Cooper, we'll see a little bit more of that. Obviously, the past few weeks, he's been in the backfield a ton. And then lastly, in week 1, we had 6 or fewer defenders in the box on 16 of 24 of Barkley's carries too. So it'll be interesting to see if we see the same sort of thing or like I kind of alluded to, like when we have more than 7 or more defenders in the box, we're playing a lot of the plays actually end up being like a negative play for the offense.
Interesting. Justin asked, are we thinking Hurts will clear protocol? I think we're all kind of planning on him playing.
I think so.
Yeah, I think what's happening right now is just kind of like what Matt LaFleur would do. Is Nick Sirianni, he's just not going to tip his hand. But remember, this concussion was 4 weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, he's still in protocol." Or I don't have an update on that, but they didn't have any reason to play Jalen Hurts last week, so they didn't really have a reason to clear him from protocol.
Right. Okay. Jake, what are you looking for from the pass rush?
I don't share your same optimism with Hurts, by the way, because I was reading some stuff and some former players said that some concussions last up to 6 weeks.
For sure. I just think
they're saying.
I saw something that came
saying that they just cut their 4th-string QB. Hurts is going to be back.
Yeah,
got an Eagles fan popping in, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Nice. If he's back, he's going to be rusty. He's going to get hit a lot. That's all I'm saying. In terms of pass rush, Eagles QB sacked 45 times. Hurts got sacked 38 of those. Last week versus the Giants, they gave up 4 sacks. Giants aren't really known for their pass rush except for Sexy Dexy.
And that throw Kayvon Thibodeau in there.
He's a beast. I wish he'd be. I wish he'd be a Packer next year.
Brian Burns too.
Yeah, Brian Burns too. That's true.
So outside of their 3 really good players, they're not known for their pass rush.
I mean, Thibodeau's okay.
He's young. He'll get better, I think.
Landon Dickerson is kind of a weak link on this offensive line. He leads the team in penalties from the O-line. He's second in pressures, quarterback hits, and sacks. And by far the worst player on this offensive line, his name is Fred Johnson. He leads the team in sacks. He's given up 8. He's given up 5 quarterback hits, 24 hurries, and 37 pressures. So if there's an area on this offensive line to attack, it's where Fred Johnson is. Packers have been running some Baltimore-esque kind of throwback defense where they kind of load one side of the line. I'll tell you what, I'm going to load the side where Fred Johnson is because he probably not going to be able to handle it as well as the other side of the O-line where they still haven't credited Gary for getting a sack against them, but that's another story for another day.
Looking at the D-line, I'm also expecting Hurts to play. I'm also thinking that Halfley could dare Hurts to run and get him, get some hits on him, not to hurt him. I'm going to preface that like I'm not in any way advocating to like hurt Hurts, but just to get him rattled, get him, thinking about being hit, to get him, somewhat thinking about getting hit for more of the rest of the game. Get him second guessing things, stuff like that. That's the kind of thing I'll be looking for from the defensive line. They did a really good job of containing Jalen Hurts in week 1. And we looked at like guys like Anthony Richardson and Will Levis who can run, and they did a pretty good job of containing those mobile quarterbacks as well. So I think they might play a lot of 4-man rush, to be honest, again. Justin was asking why they did it with Caleb Williams. I think it's probably going to be another thing this week. The Eagles have 2 really good and still a couple other respectable wide receivers. They have arguably the best duo, probably second best, maybe third best, but one of the best duos in the NFL in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So they're going to give them extra attention. So the 4-man D-line is going to be on their own for a fair amount of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Bryant, what are you looking for from the linebackers?
Yeah, Matt LaFleur seems optimistic that Quay Walker will play. I know people are like, oh, but Quay sucks. Guess what? He's the second best linebacker on the team.
Yep.
And he's fast. And he had 11 tackles against the Eagles or whatever it was week 1. Yeah, he missed the one on Saquon. Okay, I understand. But maybe he's not going to be in that position now with Edge Cooper there.
He's not the only player to miss a tackle on Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
What? No way.
360 over a guy's head. At least that didn't happen to us.
Backwards.
Yeah.
Man.
So Matt LaFleur seems optimistic that Quay will play. So hopefully that happens. The linebackers just need to be ready to watch. They really need to be ready for running from Hurt and with Saquon. I mean, Saquon's had an amazing year. I feel awful for him that they didn't let him break the record.
I think he sat out as well. I think
he came out later and said he wanted to play.
All right.
But he said he'd leave it up to the coach. But he had 30 less carries than Eric Dickerson at the time, so people couldn't even say, oh, it was just because there was extra games. No, he had less carries. So, too bad for him. But so maybe he's going to be a little on fire this game. But either way, Quay and Coop need to be ready to get after these guys. And then also a huge part of the Eagles' passing attack is their tight ends. They have 2 main wide receivers. After that, it's a huge drop-off. But they'll definitely get Goddard and the other tight end involved.
Isn't Goddard on IR, or did he come back?
He's going to come back.
He just got activated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they'll need to be ready to cover them a little bit too. But the middle of the field is going to be huge this game. So, in my opinion, you got to force Jalen Hurts to beat you outside the numbers, and the linebackers are going to be a big part of that.
Yeah. Justin said Quay doesn't suck. Sometimes he overplays his position, lets emotions get the best of them, but he's actually a good linebacker. I think he's a slightly above average linebacker. We talked about it before. The 4 or 5 games before he got hurt were easily the best of his career. I don't think I've had any problems with his emotions. He had the problems his rookie year and the year after that a little bit, but over the last 2 years it hasn't been a problem.
It's like people are so like one thing happens and then that's their whole. I mean, I get it that first impressions last, but holy cow,
it hasn't been a problem in 2 years. Calcaterra has made some plays. Can't sleep on him. I liked Grant Calcaterra actually coming out of the draft when we did our draft prep on him in 2022, I believe. Moving on, Jake, what are you looking for on 3rd and 4th down?
All right, so excuse me. So third down defense. The Packers finished the year as the 12th best 3rd down defense. I wrote down their road stats as well. On the road, they're the 16th best 3rd down defense. Going against the Eagles, who Eagles offense on 3rd downs, they're the 10th best. They're converting 41.7%. And at home, they're converting 47.4%. So they're actually the 6th best 3rd down offense in all of football. So obviously looking to keep them out of the brotherly shove scenarios, the 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s. That's pretty obvious when you've been playing the Eagles the last couple of years. Going to have to get them in some down and distance kind of areas, win 1st down, win 2nd down, Don't allow them to just run north and south with Saquon Barkley, which is obviously easier said than done. The guy had 2,000 freaking yards this year in 17 games, 16 games, whatever. He's absolutely amazing. But I agree. We're going to have to force them to beat us outside the numbers and hopefully get in some favorable third downs, because if we allow them to just run clock and convert third downs all day, it's going to be a really long Sunday afternoon.
I meant to say this too. In 2 of their 3 losses, Saquon was held for less than 100 yards. So, and their only loss at home, Atlanta held them for less than 100 yards. It was like 84 yards.
Yeah, but the Packers don't deserve to be in the playoffs, even though the Eagles lost to the Falcons. So, Simon, what are you looking for from the secondary?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough matchup versus, I think you said second or third best, and I kind of agree with that. 1-2 punch
Jason
and
Higgins,
AJ.
Jefferson,
Yeah.
and Addison, Brown and Smith.
Yeah.
And outside of those 3 duos, I don't think that there's any better. Maybe Puka and Kupp, but
I don't know where Cup's been the last 5 weeks. So,
Blocking.
Yeah, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are definitely going to be a tough matchup. And I kind of alluded to it earlier, straight out said it, like they're going to have to shade some safety help towards AJ Brown in the deep game. He's one of the best deep threats in the NFL.
all right, Jake, what are you looking for in the red zone?
Yeah, red zone. This one is a little bit closer, in my opinion, than the third downs. Red zone defense, Packers giving up 60% touchdowns. That's 20th in the NFL. That's not great. Last 3 weeks, also giving up 60%. That's 18th. And on the road, they're giving up 65% of red zone trips or touchdowns. That's 24th. But the Eagles have not exactly been killing it in the red zone. They're only scoring touchdowns on 57% of their drives. That's 13th. Last 3 weeks, they're 21st in the NFL at 53%, and at home, they're only scoring touchdowns on 54%. That's 19th. So that's an area where they're kind of not cashing in on touchdowns. They're settling for a lot of field goals that they probably shouldn't be. So this may be an area where if the Packers can win third downs for the most part, and third downs, they held them to 4 for 14 in week 1, so they did a good job there. And maybe bend don't break kind of style defense and hope Jordan Love is feeling it like he was in Brazil before he got hurt. Packers can steal one if they win the red zone.
Yeah, I can see that. Bryant, what are you looking for from special teams?
Yeah, just make your kicks. Take the points first off, please. Second, make your kicks. We cannot afford to leave any points on the table this game. Be smart on punt coverage. I doubt the Eagles are going to try to run the same play, but they might catch something or see something on that, and you never know. Also for the Eagles, they're Jake Elliott is struggling a lot from 50 plus. He's 1 for 7 on the year. So, and for total, he's 77% on the year for field goals. So try to, if the defense can, when they get to that 35-yard line mark, if they can hold them there and it's not like 3rd and 3 or 4th and 3 where the Eagles are probably going to go for it because they don't have a lot of trust in their kicker right now. If you can get them on that 35-yard line and make it like 4th and 8 where they're probably trying the field goal, hopefully, his struggles continue because he has, like I said, really struggled from 50 plus. So if we can put them in that position a few times and hold them there, bend, but don't break, and get him into kicking some long field goals, if it comes down to him, he's struggling right now. So, and we've seen really great kickers struggle to get out of that. I mean, look at Tucker all year, who's easily, is probably the next Hall of Fame kicker, and that doesn't happen very often. He's struggled a lot this year. So, other than that, I didn't see anything when I was looking at this, taking a glance at the stats where there was like huge returns given up or anything on either side. So I think, the Eagles allow our kick like 68% touchback. So Nixon might get a return, 1 or 2 returns this game. Hopefully not too many because we don't want them kicking off a bunch because that means they scored a bunch. But
it's after threes.
Yeah. So, but you never know. If you could steal a touchdown on special teams, like a kickoff return or a punt return, that's the type of
even field position.
Yeah, score field position that can be huge, and that's a good point. Field position will be huge. Need Whelan to have a really solid game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, isn't it weird to go into this game and feel like we have the better kicker. Isn't
That's
that kind of
nice.
weird? That feels pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's what, 19 for 20 now in the season?
Yeah, he's missed
he
one.
finished like second in percentage, I think, in the NFL.
Mhm.
Pay the man.
Steve is looking offensively for the Packers to get off to a fast start to make the Eagles one-dimensional.
I don't know that they'll ever be fully one-dimensional, but that would help.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Hurts did throw for 278 yards on us week 1. So.
There was a lot of offense in that game in general.
Yeah.
Steve said 47 of 48 at all on all kicks. Justin asked, can we hire a reporter to tell AJ Brown that Hurts is trash talking him?
Seems believable.
Yeah. I can recommend a website that makes a lot of clickbait like that. Looking at the coaching aspect, obviously we want Matt LaFleur to be on top of clock management, going north and south on 4th down. As far as the grand scheme of things, I don't have issues with the grand scheme of Matt LaFleur's play calling. Without 3 games altogether of Jordan Love, if you look at the 2 games that he missed, obviously, and then the 2 games where he came out about halfway through or sooner, the Green Bay Packers offense, 8th in points per game, 5th in yards per game, 5th in rushing yards per game, 12th in passing yards per game. So I don't really have any problems with the Packers offense. And you look at the passing yards, the one thing that they have the biggest opportunity to improve in. If Jordan Love's healthy all season, I have no doubts in my mind that number is higher, and they're in the top 10 in every offensive category. Looking at Jeff Hafley, I've seen too many people saying that he is the next Joe Barry or Joe Barry 2.0. And Bryant, I know that's not what you were getting at. You were saying only on that one specific play, but I've seen people projecting it as a larger portion of his tenure in his first season as the defensive coordinator. The Packers were 6th in points per game allowed, 5th in yards per game allowed, 7th in rushing yards per game allowed. That's absolutely not something we could say under Joe Barry. And 13th in passing yards per game allowed, while missing Jair Alexander and Edgerrin Cooper for large parts of the season. And yes, Edgerrin Cooper is a large part of our coverage. So I don't really have any problems with them as far as the season as a whole is considered. So we can move into the offense, and we'll start with the tight ends.
Yeah, it's Tucker Kraft show. At this point in the season, it doesn't seem like the Packers are going to make a big switch from what they've been. Even this last week, I don't know how much they really wanted to play Luke Musgrave or they didn't or whatever, but Tucker Kraft's going to take the majority of the snaps, and then the rest is going to be probably split between the 3 in some aspects. So you might see a Musgrave catch or 2, but I would love to see more Tucker Kraft down the seam. When targeting deep seam Tucker Kraft, he's like 4 for 5 for like 150 some yards and a touchdown. But yeah, I would love to see more deep ball Crafts. I like the tight end screens. They work a lot. It seems to be pretty good. And Tucker Kraft is just an absolute yak monster, and he has a bunch of forced missed tackles.
Yeah, that's why they call him the yak monster.
Did you see the Tucker Kraft? Sorry, the mac and cheese thing he did.
Mac and cheese.
Yeah, I love that.
They gave him 85 boxes of it.
I love that.
Steve said those defensive metrics are even more impressive considering the injuries and our passing offense was not really being as consistent as we hoped. That's valid. That's why I brought up in the recap part of it, like give Hafley a little bit more leash so you can focus on time management for your next offensive possession. All right. Wide receivers, Bryant.
Yeah, obviously the injury to Christian Watson was kind of devastating. We can go, that wasn't something we talked about coaching decisions, but I'll talk about it real quick now. I think the fact that Romeo Dobbs' status had any reason or anything to do with Christian Watson playing in this game was a major mistake. It's unfortunately towards ACL. We're going to miss him. I mean, he opened the offense for us some.
Can we acknowledge the other part of that? Just
that Christian Watson did want to play. He pushed the play.
To be active.
I don't think there's any ill will between them, but maybe that's where you got to protect a player from themselves a little bit when it's ultimately not that big of a deal to play in that game. But I can understand he wanted to get out there and play.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, Christian Watson had one catch for 13 or two catches for like 13 yards in week 1 against the Eagles. Ran one for a touchdown, but it's not like he was a huge part of our offense. Okay. He's run blocking, but Malik Heath can replace that to a certain degree. Devontae Wicks can replace that to a certain degree. It was Jaden. It was.
I was going to let it slide.
Wicks.
Oh, did I say Devontae Wicks? Well, close enough with the route running, right? Dontavian Wicks. The person that popped off against the Eagles was Jaden Reed. Went for like 180 yards and 2 touchdowns or whatever it was.
Yeah.
We need a little more of that, please. So we're going to need Jaden Reed to kind of snap out of it a little bit, catch the damn ball, please. We can't afford drops this game. Aside from that, what I think we're gonna need, and this is going in Jordan Love a little bit, but we're gonna need a very efficient short passing game, which is something that Romeo Doubs can be very good in. Something that a big body person like Malik Heath can have, do. Something like Tucker Kraft can do. So for me, the wide receivers need to be smart and run good crisp routes and be ready for the ball quick, because for me, the way to win this game is to control the ball. And one of the ways to control the ball is being efficient when you're passing, high completion percentage. Like something like a 65, 70% completion percentage would be great this game on those little short throws, screen plays, everything like that. So the wide receivers just need to be ready for that. And Malik Heath and Bo Melton are going to need to be ready to step up. Bo Melton can fly, but I just don't think you can really have him and Jaden Reed on the field at the same time because they're both very small. So I think you're going to see a lot more Malik Heath, who showed he can get up and get a ball this last game. So the game before that, he caught a touchdown, I'm pretty sure. So they just need to be ready for their opportunities here.
Yeah, so before I go into the passing game distribution, I'll kind of get into some of these comments. Justin said, I'm hoping they went away from Kraft on the seam so that teams would forget that he's able to do those things and go back to it in the playoffs. Maybe, but there's another guy that's going to be involved that I'm going to bring up in a second. Justin said, are we thinking about letting Watson go after this injury? I'm a fan of his, but these injuries are piling up, unfortunately. No.
At the very least, he's going to be on the team next year, and we'll see how the injury goes in the offseason. Nobody's going to trade for him, and the Packers aren't going to cut him.
They're not cutting him,
Yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen. He's going to probably...
comment illustrates why. That the Packers offense averages 8.9 yards per attempt with him on the field, 7 without.
Simon, I was just talking about this for the show, man.
Yeah,
I was
saw
looking at all the numbers, bro. I
Yeah.
saw it, and
Steve
I was like, dude.
added an extra stat of reference here that Lamar Jackson had 8.8 yards per attempt to lead the league, and Will Levis had 6.9 yards per attempt. That's Watson's impact.
Yeah. And he's a great teammate on top of that.
Absolutely.
But that goes back to why I'm saying that Jordan Love and that short passing game will just have to be very efficient.
Yep. And going into the passing game distribution now, I'm going to talk about this. This is why I kept telling Jake to pump the brakes when he was starting to get into it on the offensive side of the recap a little bit, because I wanted to save it for this portion. First of all, keep Josh Jacobs involved. There's been a couple games where he's gotten 4 or 5 targets, and that's perfect. But there's also been a couple games where he's gotten 0 or 1, and that's no bueno. Josh Jacobs has been the most consistent piece of the Packers offense this season. There's not any denying that. Give him the ball. Keep him involved in the passing game, not just on handoffs. He's dangerous in the passing game. We've seen it. Next, Romeo Doubs is going to be the go-to guy. Third downs, Romeo Doubs. That's your trusted guy. I like Jaden Reed a lot, but right now it's a little shaky. He's had some hands problems 2 weeks in a row with a drop and then a fumble. So third downs, Romeo Doubs is the guy. For trying to fill in for Christian Watson, we need a guy that can get deep on the sidelines. My mind, that's Malik Heath and a little bit of Romeo Doubs. We've seen Doubs and Love connect on some pretty deep balls on the sidelines. And then we saw Malik Willis and Malik Heath combined for a really nice play on the sideline this week on a 3rd and long as well. So in my mind, in the quote-unquote replacing Christian Watson, Malik Heath is the guy that the Packers need to step up and give opportunity to. Other than that, if we're talking in the middle of the field, I would like to reintroduce Luke Musgrave. That's why he was drafted. His combination of size and speed is ideal for running up the middle of the field. So, talking on the sidelines, a little bit of Doubs, and Malik Heath. Up the middle of the field, Luke Musgrave. Steve said, did you guys ever see Darius Slay's podcast when Love came into the game for Rodgers a couple years ago? Slay was a huge fan of Watson after that game. He had really nice things to say about Jordan Love, too.
He was one of the first ones that said that Love's going to be able to play in this league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I respected him for that. Okay. Let's go into the offensive line.
Yeah, so I feel like they just need to get back to kind of where they were like 3 or 4 games ago. The Eagles they're very much like our pass rush. They have like 7 guys that have 3 or more sacks, but only one player that's kind of out ahead of everybody. And then everyone else just kind of contributes. So that can be a challenge, you know what I mean? Because you never know who's going to get home, or that tells you they're bringing a lot of different exotic blitzes, or they have a good rotation. So the offensive line is just going to need to be ready to pick those up. I think this will be a big Josh Jacobs and Chris Brooks game in the play action pass blocking. Hopefully Tucker Kraft doesn't get stuck in the backfield blocking all the time. Kind of like what we've seen a little bit happen against the Vikings. Bears were giving us a little bit of trouble too. So hopefully this game, this team's ready to step up and be ready for this game. And no boneheaded pre-snap penalties. It's going to be loud at first in Philly. It's always a loud, ruckus, hard place to play. Some nasty fans. No offense to the Philly fan that's in here, but it's a hard place to play. So they just kind of got to be ready for it. But just really no stupid penalties. No very costly. It's hard to say no costly holding calls because those seem so infrequent or like inconsistent when being called. But just be smart with that, and then just be ready to pick up stunts. There's been a couple times where we've seen players get kind of smoked on a stunt, and then they Jordan Love or Malik Willis or whoever's getting hit. So and then in the run blocking game, they've been pretty mediocre, or middle of the pack all year. Hopefully they can put together a good run. Josh Jacobs was having a very strong game against Philly. We just didn't give him the ball that much. He had 16 carries for like 84 yards, averaging 5.5 yards a carry or whatever it was. So we just need to keep him in the game, and we need to keep giving him the ball. And it looks Ryan and Tom have been doing a really good job with like some combo blocks recently. So if we can open up big holes and keep Josh Jacobs rolling and keep him in the game, that's going to be the key factor for us.
So this is an Eagles fan again that brought up the quarterback situation earlier. He was at the game when Love came in for Rodgers. He said Love scared me when he came in and threw that crosser to Watson. So
I still think the throw to Aaron Jones on the sideline was the best throw of the game.
Almost getting more respect from other fan bases on our quarterback than we get from our own fan base sometimes.
Sad.
Not in our comment section specifically, because we have great followers, but in the whole of the internet.
Still people saying start Willis. Get out of here.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the run game.
Is that me?
That is you.
I don't know. Have you been covering the run game for 18 games?
Let's go Fanatics show.
My bad. I was reading something. As I do. So it's just going to be Josh Jacobs. He's going to take probably 80% of the carries like he's done all year. And like you guys said, I actually like what Sean Ryan's done this year. I meant to highlight it when talking about the offense versus the Bears. I thought that might have been one of his best games of the year, or he didn't allow a single pressure, and he was pivotal in the run game too. But I think it's just gonna be Josh Jacobs all day, every day. He'll end up probably with 100 yards again, and then you'll sprinkle in some Emmanuel Wilson, and Chris Brooks will see the field a little bit too.
Alrighty, going into 3rd and 4th down offense.
Yeah, so 3rd down offense. Packers improved a lot from the beginning of the year. They were having some struggles there. I don't know. I saw you say it a bunch last couple weeks there, Justin. Packers convert on 39.47% of their 3rd downs. It's 15th in the NFL. So can't be too upset from where they kind of started. They were 3 for 11 on 3rd down week 1 versus Philly, so obviously going to have to be much better there. Philly is only allowing 35.5% of third downs at home. It's pretty good. Or overall at home, they're only allowing 31.96, which is third in the NFL. So basically, if you average that out, it's basically like 4 for 12. So basically, what we did in week 1 is what they're holding everybody to in Philadelphia. So the Packers are going to have to be better on the road. Packers are only converting 33.75%. That's 26th in the NFL. So third downs on offense will be very key. I agree with Tyler. I wrote down. I said having Romeo Doubs back will. Hopefully, he was out with an illness, the illness that's basically going around the entire state of Wisconsin right now. It's taking out some Bucks players, taking out some Packers players last couple of weeks. Hopefully, he's over that and better, and we can convert some third downs. That'll be nice.
Looking at the red zone, the Packers scored on 59.4% of their red zone drives this season. Philadelphia allows touchdowns on 50%. I'm looking for the Packers to just be somewhere just slightly beyond that, whether it's 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, anything like that. Obviously, I will take 100%, but in the realm of realism, looking at it, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, that's 60 to 70%. If they can get somewhere in there, I feel like that bodes well for the Packers' chances to win the game. Justin Lloyd is done for the season.
Yep.
All right, Simon, what are you looking for from Jordan Love against the Eagles?
I just I think especially during the first half of the year is when he really had to struggle with like not playing as clean as he could have and causing a few turnovers, but he's been really good in the second half of the year, and I'd like to see a continuation of that. Jordan Love's been pretty good at play action this year, so I'd love to see them create more play action opportunities off the run game. And then I feel like lately there's been some missed check down opportunities to Kraft and Jacobs that Love can clean up a little bit. And then we talked about Watson a little bit. So it'll be, I think, difficult to make some of the downfield throws. So just being alert that if it's just not there downfield, don't force it. Take the check down, take the 4 or 5, 6 yards, move on to the next play.
Yeah, they're another team in the NFC with a really good set of safeties. So you just gotta.
Yeah, they've been extremely good versus the deep ball this year. So
my first line of my Love notes say, take what the defense gives you. Don't pass up an open short pass for a home run.
Yep.
And you just brought up with Christian Watson again, maybe be a little more picky when taking those shots downfield. My biggest thing with the perception of Jordan Love, and you brought up the early season miscues and the turnover worthy plays, the interceptions. He had 11 interceptions. They got cleaned up. So there's a lot of people that are talking about, the Packers keep making the same mistakes, keep shooting themselves in the foot. Nobody's giving credit to Jordan Love for cleaning up his mistakes. He's cleaned that up.
Yeah.
So in the realm of self-inflicted wounds, Jordan Love has done his part, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of that's to credit without that he's not taking quite as many shots down the field, or he almost seems a little like he's definitely surveying the field a little more. This game, I actually kind of hope, not that I want him to just all out start bombing it, but I do hope we take a couple shots down the field. I hope we look for a couple of those deep crossers in that 20 to 25 yard mark, because I do think we're going to need those types of play, and maybe he can let it loose a little more, not think quite as much. And because I do feel like the offense has been a little tight and stale lately, and maybe he's been trying to be too perfect, and we've seen that with a quarterback before. So maybe he just got to find that happy medium of, okay, yeah, that's a bad one, or hey, I can take a shot right here. So
if we look back 1 year ago, the person that was killing the Dallas Cowboys in the middle of the field was Romeo Doubs.
Yep.
Yeah. He was wide open like 6 times in the middle of the field, and it was massive chunks of yardage every time they hit him.
So I just looked it up because I was actually curious. From, I don't know why I did this week, but from week 8 on, I think is when kind of Love started cleaning up his interceptions a little bit. Love is 6th in average depth of target at 9.2. So he's still taking a few shots here and there. I don't think you see as much as maybe in the first half of the season or so.
Yeah. Brian, is there anything else you wanted to add on Jordan Love?
No, I mean, we just need a really efficient game from him, and that's part of that is going to be his wide receivers making the catch, but he needs to make sure he puts the ball in an easier spot to catch it, not throwing it half yard behind or anything like that, or when it doesn't need to be at their feet, don't throw it at their feet, things like that. So just be very, hopefully we get him a couple rhythm throws going in, a couple, 3-step dropbacks, quick slant, like scheme some stuff up like that open to kind of get him in the groove.
They ran some nice stuff like that to Dontavian Wicks last week, I thought.
Yeah. So hopefully we can get something like that going.
Yeah. Jake, what are you looking for from Jordan Love?
So we always hear about all the weapons that the Packers have, right? We talk about them all. We cover every single one of them. I would like Jordan Love to find his matchup that he likes and kill it. You go after that one guy. Look him in his eyes, man. The eyes never lie, man. Look that guy in his eyes. They got a couple rookies over there now in their first playoff games. Look that guy in his eye and see if he's really about it. We got a couple guys that can cut you up in some routes, man. Romeo Dobbs, he can cut some people up. Dontavian Wicks can obviously get open. People are still kind of sour on Dontavian Wicks. You want to talk about people that have fixed mistakes? 2 drops since week 10. That's it. He's been much better the second half of the year. So not enough credits also be given to Dontavian Wicks in that, in my opinion. So find your matchup, kill it. Don't be over eager. Don't get happy feet. And you know what, man? You're athletic. You're a big athletic guy, man. Take off and take the 5 yards. You don't always have to make the throw. I mean, if you're in a 2nd and 7 and you can gain 4 yards, take the 4 yards. 3rd and 3 is a much better situation than 3rd and 7. I promise you.
Yep.
That's a great point too, Jake. I actually wrote in my notes that I would like to see Jordan Love use his legs a little bit this game.
Yeah.
So good call out on that. I think that could be a mini X factor or surprise factor if he decides to start get going a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Justin said, I hope they clean up some of the pick plays and use them. They did in the Saints game. That got Dontavian Wicks' touchdown against the Saints. It was a legal pick play. All right, let's go into injury designations to watch for. We talked about Jalen Hurts, obviously, already. But, Brian, what are the other ones that we're watching for?
Yeah, so 1 second here. So Jalen Hurts, we talked about. I do imagine that he's just in protocol because they just haven't cleared him yet because there was no reason for him. That's pretty much it for the Eagles. I don't think there's any concern that Smith or Brown aren't going to play. We will have to keep an eye on Goddard, see if he's fully back, but they activate him, so I expect him to play. But for the Packers, it's unfortunately a different story. Evan Williams doesn't sound as optimistic. Matt LaFleur said we'll have to see. Maybe he is optimistic. He's just not tipping his hand, kind of like the Eagles. However, he did say he was optimistic on Quay, so I feel like he would have done the same thing with Evan Williams. So I'd love to have Evan Williams back because that's another player that really wasn't playing in the first week of the game, week of the season that has played really well when he's on the field. So if he can play, that's going to be big for us. Dobbs should be fine. He's fine with the illness. Love should be fine. However, Love did say after the game that his 2 fingers were still numb. So hopefully that's come back. I don't want to see him limited this week. I'd really like to see full practices from him because we kind of need them for, that helps him get in the groove and get ready is full practices. Now, if they're limited, how limited was he actually? I don't know if there's going to be gamesmanship in there. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So Quay and Evan Williams are the 2 big ones we're going to have to keep an eye on. Obviously, there's no Jaw. So other than that, I think Love will be fine. I think Malik will be fine. So.
All right, Jake, what's the weather going to be like?
38 degrees, no snow, winds west-southwest at 5 miles per hour. Pretty chill January day.
You know how great 34 degrees sounds right now?
It does sound
good.
nice.
Sounds so nice.
Me. It's
so
been cold
here.
here too, man.
It was negative 37 here last week.
Yeah, well, not all of us want to live in Russia, okay?
I don't live in Russia either.
Basically do.
You live in American Russia.
Yeah, sure. West Canada.
Last Siberia. All right, let's go into matchups. Jake, what's your matchup to watch?
All right, this is gonna be fun. My matchup to watch is Dontavian Wicks versus Quinion Mitchell. Quinion Mitchell's a rookie, and Steve, you're ahead of the ball there. Number one in separation is Dontavian Wicks. I was kind of hinting at it when I said find your matchup and kill it. I think Dontavian Wicks versus Quinion Mitchell is going to be the one. I don't think they've been using Wicks enough, honestly. We were throwing a bunch of names out there who can stretch the field down the sidelines, outside the numbers. Why not the guy that gets the most separation in the NFL? I think that sounds like a good idea to me. Quinion Mitchell, to his credit, has been really, really good this year. He's only given up a long pass of 33 yards. He has 9 pass breakups and 2 touchdowns given up. 40 of 69 targets and catches. That's 58%. And only allowed 61 yards of yak. So he's had a really good rookie year. But, again, rookie, first playoff game. I would like to see Dontavian Wicks get going here a little bit.
Yeah. Brian, what's your matchup to watch?
Yeah, mine's actually Josh Jacobs versus Saquon Barkley. I feel like if Jacobs can outperform Saquon, then we win this game. Like if he can keep us on the field, if he can keep the ball in our hands, and we make them stay on the sidelines, they're going to struggle. Or at least we're going to be right there at the end with hopefully the ball last to win the game. So I just think like Josh Jacobs being able to match to a certain degree Saquon's production, which he was doing it. He was outperforming Saquon week 1. Saquon just got more carries. Then that would be absolutely huge for us.
So I'm going to jump in here because mine also involves Saquon Barkley, but I have Edgerrin Cooper versus Saquon Barkley. We've had these conversations about Edgerrin Cooper in tackles for loss and being in the backfield, which he has been a ton. If you look at week 1, Edgerrin Cooper played 11 snaps. So having a guy who over the course of the season has developed into our best run-stopping linebacker, a guy who's been in the backfield a lot on running plays, that's the matchup that I think is very crucial to the Packers' chances. Simon, what do you have for a matchup to watch?
I have the secondary versus the Eagles wide receivers.
Makes
Also, note, now that Steve was talking about separation, Tucker Kraft is second in the league in separation yards of separation, according to Next Gen Stats.
The someone that's the Eagles fan said,
True.
Cooper's on defense who barely played week 1.
True.
And they're both rookies.
And they're both good. Cooper DeJean's been playing pretty well, too.
DeJean's been really well.
Yeah, he's been balling.
That's valid. All right, Jake, who is your X Factor?
My X Factor is Kenny Clark. He's been, I don't want to say a disappointment, but he kind of has been. Only 1 sack on the year. If the Packers have any chance of winning this game and making a run in these playoffs, Kenny Clark is going to have to play some of the best football of his entire career, collapsing the pocket from the inside. The Eagles like to I mean, you can run Saquon where the hell you want. But they like to run him on the inside, inside the guards, a little on the outside of the guards, inside the tackles a lot. So Kenny Clark's going to have to eat a lot of that up. I think he can take advantage of a guy like Landon Dickerson, in my opinion. I don't think that they're guards or anything to write home about. I feel like we're about even if you compare ours to theirs. So I think Kenny Clark's going to have to ball out this week for us to have a chance.
Steve said, how about Stenovich versus Fangio as a key matchup?
Ooh, that's a big one, except Steno doesn't really call the plays. So
yeah, I think it's more Matt LaFleur.
Bryant, what's your X Factor?
Yeah, my X Factor is Jordan Love, because I just feel like if he can make all the plays and take care of the ball, get that that passing game going, and just control the clock and don't make errors, I think we have a chance to win this game. Just we need to be chipping away smart plays the whole time.
Simon, who's your X Factor?
My X Factor is the safety opposite of Xavier McKinney on any given play.
I like that.
It's a good one.
That's a good one.
Mine's a little more broad. I went with Jeff Hafley. I mentioned this when I was talking about the defensive line. Make Jalen Hurts uncomfortable. Pull out all the fancy blitz packages to make him second-guess everything. Justin said his X Factor is special teams, good solid returns, Whelan, if needed, perfect punt placement. Let's get McManus to get us points instead of being greedy. I don't think it's a greed thing when they're trying to score touchdowns. I don't think it's like, let's get greedy. Let's go for a 2-point conversion when we're down by 1. I don't think it's something like that. I think it's strategic as far as going for it instead of taking 3s, but we'll get there. Lucius, what's up? Nice to see you. Nice to see you in the comment section. All right, let's go to some score predictions. Jake, I'm going to go to you first. Score prediction from the head.
24-20 Green Bay.
Bryant?
24-23 Green Bay.
Oh, God.
Simon?
All right. So this is from my head. I have us losing 30-23.
All right.
Whoa.
I just don't pick against this, so I don't blame you.
I
If
agree.
I had to put money on it, I would probably go your way.
From the head, I have the Eagles winning 30-27. All right. Let's go from the heart. Jake?
All right. This one's really from the heart. So throwback to 2010. Wild card Philly, 21-16, baby.
I'm down.
Come on, baby.
Bryant?
27-21 Packers.
27-20.
All right. Simon?
I hate seeing the negativity. I think the Packers can win this game. I have us winning 27-24.
Yep. Packers absolutely can win. I think the Packers actually match up well with the Eagles. Steve said, side note, but it was nice to see Kaitan Oladipo play this weekend. Yes, it was.
He played pretty well, too.
Yeah.
Yep. He played a solid game in his limited snaps.
So I did a thing. I have 30-27 Packers from the heart. So this game's going to end 30-27, but from the head, I say Eagles. From the heart, I say Packers. Justin said from the head, 21-17 Packers. Heart, 28-21. I'm on board with either one of those as long as it involves the Packers winning.
Yep.
And that's the thing. We talk about this, like where we were at. There's so many people attaching way too much importance to the Bears game as it relates to this upcoming playoff game. There's way too much of that going around. As Packers fans, I would encourage you, if that's the way that you're feeling about this, completely ignore the Bears game. That's why we did this show the way we did it, of doing the recap as a shorter, abbreviated version and expanded on the preview. It's to illustrate the importance that those games hold in the grand scheme. So I would encourage you to do the same. Just don't put so much weight into a game that ultimately became meaningless. Let's focus on the playoffs. The Packers are an 11-win football team, and they have a chance to do what they did last season, which is to go into an opponent's building from the NFC East and win a game that not a lot of people think they can.
Honestly, put themselves. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it would be sick. This would be honestly probably an all-time road to the playoffs. I mean, Super Bowl. If they were, could you imagine beating the teams that beat you? Go beat Philly, go beat Detroit, and then go beat Minnesota, who's likely going to be there. Depending on Tampa Bay, I think is dangerous, but and the Rams, but that would be an all-time sick road there.
Honestly, I could see any one of the 7 making it. Like, I think the NFCs are like, all the teams are really good this year. Like, there's no one team I look at and I'm like, I don't think they could beat the other teams.
Tampa Bay can hang 45 points on you in a heartbeat. The Rams have really good players and their defense is coming along. Washington has an X factor in Jaden Daniels that can pop off and just do incredible things. Like, it's, for me, I feel like the NFC is wide open.
Yep.
I think so too.
Samuel said, go Pack, go. Packers fan for life, no matter what. That's what we love. Well, either way,
I got one more thing. Sorry.
We got Simon Says too.
Rolling off of kind of like Green Bay winning and stuff, I was reading this ESPN article, and there have been 14 teams in history that reached the Super Bowl despite not posting a single victory in the regular season against a team with at least 11 wins. So, like, there's still possibility. Like, it's happened before. And this team could, I think they could do it. I think they're good enough.
I agree. Okay. We were talking about this a little bit before Bryant got in here, but the Simon Says, I have a couple really basic ones written down, but Bryant, if you have some elaborate ones, let's hear them.
They're not super elaborate. I just put that the Packers have more total rushing yards than the Eagles.
That would be pretty crazy, actually.
That would be pretty crazy.
All right. Anything else you wanted to throw out there?
Yeah, and then I put that the Packers get to Jalen Hurts 5 times.
Oh, dude,
And
we're
then,
winning if we do that.
My last bonus one was that Jake Elliott misses a game-tying 50-plus yard field goal at the end of the game.
That would be something.
I'm voting yes on all 3.
Yeah, Steve said he can't remember a better slate of playoff teams. That I agree with. And we talked about this too. Like 11-6 is probably good enough to win a chunk of divisions in the NFL.
We would have won 2 in the NFC alone.
Yep. Justin said hard road, but we don't back down from a challenge. Justin, I have it written down in my notes to go find the video of Patrick Beverley talking to Giannis about not playing in a basketball game, and he says never duck smoke. That's what I need to go find. I need to go find that video and clip that, because that's the approach we need to have with the Eagles. Like, sure, we could have gotten an easier playoff opponent, but you don't duck who you get. So we'll see Packers Eagles Sunday, and we'll be back next week to recap it and preview it if we have another game coming up. So either way, we'll be back next Tuesday, and then we'll get to the offseason when that happens. So we'll see you guys back then. Thank you, everybody, for commenting along. Even Eagles fans, we appreciate that we had an Eagles fan come in and say some really respectful things. That is very much appreciated. Can't say the same for Bears fans, but we appreciate it. Just so no one thinks we're soft. 4th and 26.
Get them out of here.
Yeah. All right.
That'll do it.
I was going to say good luck, but fuck
I retract every nice thing I just said, and I hope Jalen Hurts throws a interception in the end zone in the last minute of the game, because that has also happened. So,
No, I hope he throws an interception on a 4th and 26.
Dude, I hope there's a 4th and 26 and ends up in a strip sack. We do respect the Eagles as a team, and it's going to be a good football game no matter what. So we appreciate it. Everybody commenting along, watching along, and we will see you guys next week.
Go Pack.
Go Pack.